Welcome to the first ever Arsenal Plymouth podcast. With me today, I have Keaton and I also have Jack. How are we both doing, gents?
Loving life in lockdown.
I'm struggling, but yeah, we'll get over that.
Yeah, I bet. So, on the first week, we're going to start with today we're going to start with the earliest Arsenal memories that we have. We're going to have our current opinion on the current squad. We're going to have our future about Arsenal, about what we think is going to happen after this lockdown and what we think on the whole Arteta situation and how he's improved the squad. And we'll just wrap up after that. So first, I'm going to come to you, Keaton. Tell me about your first earliest Arsenal memories.
I think personally, my first Arsenal memory was my dad taking me to Old Trafford. Funnily enough, in 2001, I think it was the FA Cup semi-final. It was Arsenal v Middlesbrough. I think we won 1-0 if I remember. I think it was an own goal actually. I think Henry put a corner in and we got an own goal. But the funny part is we were actually in Wales. We're staying with my grandparents. My dad missed the train to get us to Old Trafford in time. So he paid £200 for a taxi to get us to the game in time. And he made me at 6. Well, how old was I? 2001. I'd been about 6 because FA Cup, 6 years old. Made me promise not to tell my mum that he spent £200 on a taxi. And then literally 5 minutes within the door, my mum was like, "Oh, how was the train?" I went, "We didn't go on the train. Got a taxi." So yeah, he wasn't best pleased because he got a bit of a bollocking from my mother. So, but that was probably one of the best games. I still remember the game vividly. Like I said, I'm sure it was an own goal to Middlesbrough scored. And then the final after that was pretty much another one. I remember my dad had flags everywhere, and that was the one where Michael Owen scored 2 late goals, Millennium Stadium. So they're my first big Arsenal. Yeah, they're nasty goals.
What about yourself, Jack?
Probably my first memory would be watching Arsenal on TV with my dad. My dad's a big fan. I always feel it's bad when people go on about your first Arsenal memory because I feel like I was born in such a cliche period.
Yeah.
Whenever it was your first Arsenal memory, well, it's going to be
Thierry Henry.
Us. Mine actually, to be fair, I remember the 98 season when Tony Adams scored that volley against Everton.
Steve Bold with the assist.
Yeah, so I remember that, but it's Arsene Wenger period, Yeah, I remember, Dennis Bergkamp's goal against Newcastle in 2001.
2002.
2001, 2002, if you really want to be. So yeah, probably 98 was my earliest. I would have been 6. I would have been the same age as Keaton when he had his first memory. But yeah, it's always weird when people go, "What's your first Arsenal memory?" And it's like, I don't remember George Graham, period.
No.
But
I was born in 94, so we didn't have the chance, did we, really?
No, not really. So, but yeah, no, I remember.
What
about you, Paul?
So, I'm only 23, so my first earliest memory is I wasn't old enough to remember the Invincibles, as I was probably a bit younger. But probably the 2005 FA Cup final. Probably earliest vivid memory that I have of Arsenal. But otherwise, I go home and away now all the time.
That was a bit of a drab game, 2005. I think it was 0-0, wasn't it? And then there was Vieira scored with the last kick of his career at Arsenal.
5-4 on penalties.
Best way we got battered and then we beat them on penalties.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
So we're gonna move on to our opinion of what we think of the current Arsenal squad and where we think we could potentially make some improvements. So I'm gonna come to Jack first on this one.
The problem with the Arsenal squad is I think there's very few positions you can really look at and go, we can't make improvements. I think realistically speaking, you maybe we'll look at centre mid and centre back are 2 positions definitely. But I mean, if you look at it for me, probably the only position actually I feel that going forward it can stay absolutely the same is left back. Kolasinac and Tierney, theoretically, Tierney should hopefully become very good left back. Kolasinac isn't the worst backup if you look at other teams in the league. You look at Liverpool, I don't even know who Liverpool's backup left back is. For me, probably going forward, well, looking at the current squad, I think it's a bit of a shambles, really. A lot of it has been based upon players who should be playing well, not playing well. And unfortunately, it's left us a little bit short. If you look at, for example, goalkeeper, I've got nothing against Emilio Martinez, but Emilio Martinez is not a goalkeeper who is going to get us through a Premier League season and finish us. If Bernd Leno gets injured or if Bernd Leno goes, Bayern Munich supposedly really, really like him. Can you persuade Bernd Leno to stay at Arsenal and not leave for Bayern Munich?
They've just signed that goalkeeper from Schalke, haven't they?
What?
Nubel, that's it.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I haven't seen that. If they've got that perfect.
Yeah. And Manuel Neuer's just signed a contract extension yesterday, I think, till 2023.
Jesus Christ, the man's like 34, isn't he?
Yeah, I know.
If we can keep Leno, that's fine. I mean, personally, there's a lot about this club, a lot about the squad I do like. However, there's so much about that squad that is just fracturing. It's depressing to think that people say you need a new centre back, and we've got
season.
8. We've got 8 centre backs. There's 8 centre backs at the club.
Yeah.
Out of the centre backs that we have currently, which ones? Both of you, which ones do you think we should keep out of the ones that we have?
Should we say we've got 8? Should we say you keep 4 and maybe bring one in?
Yeah.
Well, Saliba, he can stay.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, if you're looking at this, is going on the basis that Arsenal actually going to sign Pablo Mari on an actual full-time contract.
Yeah.
If you're looking at it, probably I would go. It's going to sound really harsh there, poor lad. I go Saliba, Mari, Chambers, and Holding, and then bin off Mustafi, Luis, Socrates, and unfortunately for the lad, Mafronos, purely for the simple fact that if you're looking to bring someone in, unfortunately, Mafronos is always going to go on loan. He's never, ever going to play in that current setup. So if you're looking at getting rid of one of them, unfortunately, I'd get rid of him. And the other 3 should fetch some kind of money to make.
See, for me personally, I would probably keep David Luiz. I think he's 32 now. I think he's got a year left on his contract. He can probably help Martinelli.
He's got the option of an extra year as well.
Yeah, he can help Martinelli settle in, which he's been doing well. Obviously, Brazilian connection there. I think he's already played quite well under Arteta as well. Arteta's shown he can actually play quite well. So I would keep Luiz over. I'll probably get rid of one of Holding or Chambers, unfortunately, as much as I like both of them. I think you get some good money. They're English. They're 24, 25. I think decent centre-back like that. You could flog him to Everton for 30 million. And then you could probably use that and go buy something else, maybe a backup right back for Bellerin.
The only reason why I say keep Holding and Chambers, Chambers is a utility player. I've got nothing against Chambers. I just don't think he's ever going to be an Arsenal signed player. The reason I keep Holding is purely for the simple fact of if they actually bring in this home player rule, we don't have a lot of homegrown players. So I feel like you need to keep that, and I'd rather keep Holding, who can potentially play for Arsenal for another 8 to 10 years, over David Luiz, who has his days, but
I think personally Chambers has been this season of all of the centre backs. I think he's been the best up until he got injured.
Mm-hmm.
I think in my personal opinion, I don't believe that Holding will ever make it Arsenal after his injury. I just think you should see, like, if he hasn't been, he's gone on all the trips since he's come back from his injury and stuff, but he hasn't been in the squad. He hasn't. Every time he's always the 19th man. He's not even in the 18. That's personally what I would do. So then let's look at the Hector Bellerin situation. So Hector apparently has been linked to Bayern Munich, and apparently it's been looked at. There's been a lot of clubs after him, even Atletico Madrid, not this year, but last summer. What do we think about Hector? Do we think that he has got more to give since his injury, or do you believe that since the injury, that's probably it looks like it's been hampering him a bit? I'll come to you,
For me,
Keaton, on this.
go on. For me personally, I think when Arteta first took over, Ainsley Maitland-Niles was playing right back. And the first 3 games Arteta played, I thought Maitland-Niles were doing really well at right back. He was playing some sort of more of a centre defensive midfield, and then he'd pull out to the right. I thought he was doing really well. And then as soon as, I think it was a Chelsea game, Bellerin straight back in the first 11. Don't know if that's because he's pally with Arteta from playing with him, but straight in, dropped Maitland-Niles. And since then, he had a good game with Chelsea, actually. But I don't think he's anywhere near his best. And personally, if I could get 30, maybe 40 million for him, I think we could massively improve upon Bellerin. I think Arteta could get a lot out of somebody from Max Aarons from Norwich. If they go down £20 million, maybe get him. And then he made a £20 million profit if you sell Bellerin for 40. Goes towards improving the squad elsewhere. Also with the left back situation, I'd say with Kolasinac, we got him for free. You could flog him for 15, 20 million. You've made 15, 20 million pound profit, and you could. Saka's doing all right there. I want him on the wing, obviously, and I want Tierney as first choice. But you could always promote a youngster, perhaps. But I think there's easy money to be made in certain areas of our squad.
What about you, Jack?
I'd like to keep Bellerin. I think Bellerin's one of the few players that's actually been around the squad for quite a while. Holds a lot with the fans. Is one of those players where if you look for a captain, theoretically, Bellerin is one of the higher names, and we don't have a lot of leaders in that squad. Yes, Kate's a bit of a playboy and he likes to go on about his fashion and everything, but everyone's got a personal life. We get over that. At least he's not like Jesse Lingard dancing around doing nothing. As far as our right back goes, I really am not a huge fan of Ainsley Maitland-Niles. I think he's a really good going forward, and when we were playing that kind of 3 at the back with 2 wing backs, he worked really well because wing backs mainly are about attacking. Same thing that I wouldn't want to keep him around at right back is the same reason that I kind of pulled a face when Keaton went on about Saka at left back. They're attacking minded players, and
I agree with Saka.
Yeah, I don't want to go like full Ashley Cole and be like, you're a left back now. Personally, I'd like to keep Bellerin. It kind of bugs me that Arsenal aren't really in the hunt for Thomas Meunier at the moment.
Yeah,
he's going on
a free. You could sell Kolasinac, another one. Sell him, get Thomas Meunier on a free. You've made £20 million.
Yeah, there's a lot of players out there. There's also not a huge amount of players that are like world-class right backs. If you look at what happened with Cancelo at City, they paid a lot of money for him and he just did not work. The worry is, don't get me wrong, I don't mind Max Aarons. He's a good player. But Max Aarons is one of those people you bring in behind Bellerin.
Yeah.
And then maybe next season, if you actually decide Max Aarons is better than Bellerin, then promote Max Aarons, sell Bellerin. I think currently at the moment, with supposedly the money that they've got in the current market, I would personally rather keep Bellerin.
Well, have you seen, I think his first name's Geordie, I think. Wusi Tutu, I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce it, but I think he did really well in the first fixtures back in the Bundesliga. He's our youth right back. I think he could do a job, get him in the first team as backup.
Yeah, there's a lot of players.
Geordie, also Tutu,
yeah.
There's a lot of hope about him. They're just not sure whether right now he would still fulfill that potential from what I've read and what I see and from what I hear from other people. Saka's an interesting one. So if you look at all the Arsenal media channels, it looks like we don't know, or we hope that he has signed a new deal.
Yeah.
For me, I don't see Saka as being a left back because of the way I've seen the way that we played, but the fact that it looks like technically Granit Xhaka shifts over to that left-hand side and basically covers him as a left back, which is, if you look at the way we've been playing, there's that hindrance in midfield where you see a gaping hole. You've got either Torreira, or you've got now Dani Ceballos seems to have decided to start playing properly and decided to show a bit more than what we've got from him. So would you keep Dani Ceballos if Real Madrid offered you for £30 million, or would you think for £30 million we could probably spend that on potentially, the talk is Thomas Partey? I'll come to you, Keaton.
£30 million, I would probably say no, personally. I do like Danny, and he has been a lot better in the last, well, obviously not now, but the last 3 games we played. I think he was starting to get back to probably his best. His best game for us was that Burnley game. He was unbelievable. Like, genuinely, I watched that game, I was like, wow. But since then, if he away at Liverpool, I think he played and he was the worst player on the pitch. I thought by miles, didn't do anything. But yeah, £30 million bit steep for me. Like I keep saying, I think we could sell quite a lot of our deadwood. I'd say out of our squad, we could sell 8 players. I know it's probably not feasible to sell 8 players in one summer, but I think there's a lot of money to get rid of our deadwood, and we could put that towards, like you said, Thomas Partey, Lucas Torreira, potentially, obviously AC Milan links or Inter Milan, Italy links, basically. Could you maybe get 30 million for him as well? There's so much money to be made, but it's difficult, obviously, with the whole Corona thing. What values are going to be like? Torreira could be now worth 20 million when we pay 25 for him, so why sell him?
What about you, Jack?
I think the only way I'd see it happening is probably in a swap deal. I like Danny. I think Danny is a very good player. For the first season, he struggled. He did get injured, but he's 21. 21 years old. You could definitely see him doing something in the Premier League. The way he runs on the ball is very good. He's got a very good eye. He also has a lot of passion, which a lot of Arsenal players have been lacking recently.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the bench cam for him against Tottenham when he was going absolutely berserk. Something very good to see. 30 million. The problem is 30 million with Arsenal is a lot of money. The talks earlier a couple of months ago, where there was possibly a swap deal for Aubameyang for Luka Jovic and Dani Ceballos. Probably yes, I would be interested to accept that. Paying 30 million up front, I don't think we would ever do that. Purely, I just don't think we have the financial means for it, which is ridiculous when you look at the club. But when they're talking about, barely being able to afford 45 million for Thomas Partey, we got priced out of Upamecano for 50 million. I think it's a bit of an issue where basically I can see a lot of swaps happening. Thomas Partey, supposedly they want Lacazette.
Take him.
Yeah, I'd happily swap Lacazette for Thomas Partey. It's a position that we need against a position where, without offending Laka, there are a lot of players that could probably do it.
Aubameyang, Martinelli. We got Nketiah even started ahead of him, didn't he? Before the coronavirus thing, he was started 3 games ahead of him.
Yeah, 100%. There are a lot of players also that you could probably bring in just to fill gaps who aren't that expensive players. So I think, unfortunately, I could probably, if you got Thomas Partey on a complete swap deal and they went, here's 25 million for him, I would take him, just because I think he is an asset. He's a very good player, especially with Mesut Ozil's future and a little bit of balance with Fenerbahce, I think, coming in for him. You'll need an attacking midfielder.
I don't see Mesut Ozil leaving anytime.
He won't leave. No chance.
Contract. I just, the way and like what I hear in the stands in games and stuff, I just don't see why you would pack up and leave when you've still got another year on your deal. Where, let's say, he has a good season next season under Arteta, who knows? I really wouldn't be surprised if he got offered a new deal and he stays another couple of years in London. Like, the guy loves being in London, even though what happened at the start of the season obviously must have affected him big time. But as
long as you've got a Kolasinac, you're fine.
Yeah, got the tank.
I don't see him leaving. Right. So let's get to probably the most important person in the whole team, and that's Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Where do you think he would go if he was to leave? But do you believe there is any possibility that he will sign a new deal? I'll come to you, Jack, first.
To your second question, no, I don't believe there is. I think Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is a very good player, and I think he made absolutely no kind of hidden thing with the fact of he wanted to look to play for a bigger club in his terms. There was a lot of things about using us as a stepping stone. And at the end of the day, the guy's not getting any younger. So if he wants to play for the likes of Real Madrid or Bayern Munich, Real Madrid or Barcelona, I think he will go. I think he could go anywhere, is the honest answer.
Where would you like him to go?
Abroad.
Obviously.
The honest answer.
Just anywhere away from Manchester and Chelsea.
I mean, if he wants to go to City, he can go to City. City will pay.
Don't say that.
Yeah, but the thing is, City will pay the most for him, and also, in a sense, there's not a lot that makes that City team that much better. Attacking wise, defensively, they've been a bit shoddy. But realistically, I don't think he will get City. I don't think he'll go United. United, as much as they don't want to admit it, is not really a stepping stone forward. I think he will go Real Madrid. He will go Barcelona. I don't think he'll go Bayern Munich, purely because I don't think he starts in that team. So, I mean, Inter Milan.
Yeah, I've heard the swap deal with Icardi. That could be interesting. Would you take that? That's a good question.
I don't believe anything that comes out of Wanda Icardi's wife's mouth. I don't believe.
I don't even think she believes it, does she?
No, I don't think so.
If you brought Icardi as a player, yes. If you brought Icardi as a person, no. I mean, Icardi's a player that I definitely think could walk into the Premier League and grab by the scruff of his neck. He's a player who doesn't take a lot of shit. He's a very physical and aggressive player. I think he would. He's almost like a a Diego Costa, but a better player.
Yeah,
and I think he'd do well, and a lot of people would look at it and be like, okay, Arsenal's got a little bit of fire in their bellies. But then at the same side, his wife's a psychopath, and I don't want that.
I think that's why he ended up at PSG, because of his wife.
She wanted to live in Paris, didn't she?
Yeah, but she wants to live in London now, so.
What about you, Keaton?
For me on Aubameyang, I personally, I could actually see him, unlike Jack, I could see him staying, especially with this whole coronavirus. This could actually work in our favour, because he's on 200 grand a week now, roughly, compared to obviously Mesut, it's a lot less. But Real Madrid, are they going to offer him more than that? And for how long of a contract? Whereas he could probably get a 3-year contract out of Arsenal at the moment, giving him maybe 250. I don't think Real Madrid will offer him 250 a week for 3 years. No chance, personally.
Real Madrid will just rise taxes in Spain, and they'll pay for whatever player they want to play for. I
don't think he'll go. He's always said it's his dad, isn't it? The Real Madrid thing. He promised his dad before he died or something, didn't he?
He promised his grandfather before he died that.
Grandfather.
One day.
So I wouldn't, if he generally went to Real Madrid and went, well, I promised my granddad, like before he died, like fair play, hands up, no problem. At the same time, money or Jovic, if you're looking for money, for me personally, minimum of 40, I would say. Last year of his contract, 31 years old.
I'd say probably like 40-50 million you'll get for him. I think it's a weird one. I think it's almost kind of like, I think one of the main things that might keep him here is Alexander Lacazette.
He might go Atletico Madrid.
And I think if we bin him off, you just got rid of your brother. Those two have such a good chemistry. And I think it's almost weird do you want to keep Lacazette and hope that you go, do you know what? You two actually prove what you two can do together. Or do you get rid of Lacazette for a player that we desperately need, and then maybe that has an impact on Aubameyang?
So for me, if you lost both Lacazette, so say Lacazette goes Atletico and funnily enough, over goes Real, so they're arch enemies now. You've got Martinelli, you have got Saka, you have got Nketiah, you've Pepe, you've got a lot of young talent attacking the talent. You're still going to need to then reinvest in a senior striker. I'd say you can't let Martinelli or Nketiah lead the line for a big club like Arsenal at their age. No chance. So who would you get?
I believe what I would do is I would sell Lacazette and I would get rid of him. I just don't. There's something in Lacazette which looks like every time he comes on the pitch, he looks like he's unfit. And like whereas Arteta's made the team look a lot fitter than they have been, he just seems like he's unfit. Like it seems like he's still carrying a lot of weight from what I can see.
His finishing's been horrendous.
Yeah, it's been dreadful this season.
And seeing as he's supposed to be known as a finisher, like that is his key trait.
He's gone from being known as a finisher. As more people to me, people always compare him to Firmino, and I'm like, no chance.
No.
Like he's nothing like Firmino. He's underrated a bit like Firmino. I do think he is underrated. I do think he does do a lot of defensive work and he does do a lot of good work. But like people are like, well, he's more underrated than Firmino. No, I'd still rather have Firmino in my team.
From what you see from Arteta, do you believe structurally the fact that we see this, when he's been playing with Nketiah in these last 3 games in the Premier League, but when it comes to the bigger games in Europe and things, Lacazette has been playing. And where you see Lacazette being in that, okay, you can call it a Firmino role, you can call it whatever you like, really. Where I personally believe that he will have someone that he wants at the top of the team, he wants to hit that focal point. Do you believe that if we get rid of Lacazette and somehow Aubameyang stays, do you believe that he will still go after another centre forward in that type of mould?
You know what? This is going to sound weird and probably crazy to a lot of you. I'll take Olivier Giroud from Chelsea. I'd have him happily on the bench. Happily on the bench is a game changer. No issue whatsoever. Bring back Giroud. I
think the issue that with Aubameyang is I like Aubameyang, but Aubameyang's a bit of a one-trick pony. And so he's very, very quick, which is great, but he's not a great hold-up play. Personally, if the whole thing of us losing Aubameyang and Lacazette, my personal opinion of what I want to do is do the swap deal for Lacazette, Thomas Partey, because I think we would save money. I don't think Lacazette's worth anywhere near what Thomas Partey's probably worth. And if we got 40 to 50 million for Aubameyang, I'd buy Raul Jimenez from Wolves.
Oh,
see, I like the idea of Raul Jimenez. I just don't see if we're going to be spending. I don't see if we're going to be spending big money. You're going to have to spend big money to get Raul Jimenez to start with. But also, he is 29 now, which, okay, if you're going to do that, you might as well kept Lacazette for another couple of years.
But I think the thing with Raul Jimenez, which is the difference, is if you're going to go for the style of play, which for some reason everyone likes to use Lacazette as a hold-up player, despite the fact that the man's 5'9", and like he's got good strength, but he's not the same player. You can't hoof a ball up to him and expect him to be Harry Maguire in the air. I think just for the simple fact that Raul Jimenez has proved that he's very, very prolific in the Premier League, I think you'd struggle to spend the money outside of Premier League to sign someone like him.
For 50 million, I just don't think it's not worth the value, to be honest.
I'd rather spend
15 million on Sangara. Sangara in League One, he's getting relegated. I can't remember what team he's with, but he's I think he's like 6'2", he's a big, strong French lad, young. Why not go? I know you're unproven.
But we bought big, strong French lads in people like Maran Chamak and Sanogo, I think it's just more the fact of you could probably chuck 40 million, get Andrea Belotti, who I really like Andrea Belotti. But for some reason, no one's ever gone for him, which is a bit weird. Not even initially. He stayed at Torino now for 4 or 5 seasons.
So I've got a couple more questions on this before we move on. If I said to you both, you have 3 positions this summer where Arsenal could strengthen, where would they be? I'll go to you first, Keaton.
Goalkeeper, no. Leno, really happy with Leno. Martinez, I know Jack mentioned Martinez, but I think for a backup keeper, as long as Leno stays fit, I don't see an issue with Martinez. If he's happy to stay on the bench, and he's 27, 28, he's been at the club for like 10 years now, he knows the club. Yeah, no issue with goalkeeping. Right back, Probably be a question mark on that, depending on Bellerin. If he goes, obviously, different story. But as the squad is currently, Bellerin, Maitland-Niles, not too bad. If Maitland-Niles is happy to play back up. Obviously, if he's not, which he seems in an iron about, then you're going to have to sort that out. Centre-backs, like you say, we've got 8 centre-backs. So, no, we don't need to sort it out. But, yes, we do strengthening-wise, not by numbers. Left back, Tierney. I love Tierney. Before he got injured, I thought he was absolutely amazing. I watching him in the Europa League. I thought, wow. I thought he was amazing, to be fair. So left back, happy. Kolasinac, like you said, Saka, emergencies. Go through centre mid. Xhaka, Torreira, yeah. Guendouzi, yeah. I'd keep Xhaka now. A lot of people wanted to sell him, even me, to be fair. As soon as that captain's armband thing happened, I don't know if you were there, Paul. Yeah. Against Crystal Palace, I think it was, when he did that. I was like, you got to get rid of him. But under Arteta, he's been probably our top 3 players. Him, Leno, maybe, and I generally think David Luiz has been really good since Arteta's taken over. So centre mid, yeah, Thomas Partey, blah, 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 but we're quite well stocked at centre mid. Right mid, I'd have a backup for Pepe. I don't think we have a backup. I think, who do we play right mid? Reece Nelson?
I would think Reece has got so much more to give, and I think we saw it in glimpses against that first game against Chelsea at home. In our first game, you saw, and you saw it in that game again, even though it was Portsmouth only in the FA Cup. You just saw something, and I think Arteta likes him because he hugs the touchline. And I wouldn't be surprised if you saw at some point next season, you saw maybe Aubameyang up front, and you saw Nelson on the right, and you saw Pepe on the left, as in the way like City play, because Pepe's left-footed, and then they get them both to hug the touchline. But who knows?
See, obviously, Arteta is known for his work with Sterling, isn't he? At Man City, his one-on-one teaching of Sterling. So Nelson, if he could do that with Nelson, never know, because they rated Nelson higher than Sancho, I believe, when they were younger, because they all played together in the England setup. But yeah, so Reece Nelson is a good backup to Pepe at the moment. It wouldn't surprise me, like you said, switching positions, if he starts phasing Ozil, or when Ozil leaves, Pepe goes in the middle, and he starts playing him maybe not as a number 10 traditional, but maybe he's very good in the middle, yeah, because he's good ball carrying. I think he's got a good eye for a pass. I think he could do really well in the number 10 position. So you could have something like Nelson on the right, Pepe in the middle, and then Martinelli or Saka on the left with Aubameyang up top, which sounds pretty tasty to me. But yeah, 3 positions anyway. I'd say strengthening wise instead of numbers wise, centre back, 100%. Depending on what happens with Lacazette and Aubameyang, that totally changes everything. That would probably mean striker. But as the current squad lies, centre back, centre mid for another good player to come in, and I would probably then go right back. I think we're pretty well stocked up the top end at the moment as it stands, without any sales or anything.
What about you, Jack?
Incredibly, exactly the same as Keaton. So, just for the record, I actually never wanted to sell Xhaka. I was always happy to keep him. I think probably positional-wise, you need a new centre-back. I still really hope they go for Deo Upamecano, especially to accompany Saliba in centre-back, good French centre-backs. I think, to be fair, I think the deal could be probably pushed. I think if you offer Mustafi in a swap plus cash, Mustafi said before he wants to go back to the Bundesliga. And I think, or you can offer Socrates, whichever one you want. I think right back, 100%. I'd like to move what's his name, back into centre mid. Maitland-Niles back in centre mid. I think actually working a right wing back has definitely helped him in the kind of defensive side of it, and also.
What about Maitland-Niles' attitude problems that have been going around a lot? Like he doesn't want to settle.
And if you put him at centre mid, is he genuinely going to get in? Joe Willock surely is ahead of Maitland-Niles at the moment. Like, when's he going to play?
I personally, if you were going to have Maitland-Niles playing in centre mid, I would play him as a box-to-box player. I think the idea of having him, Guendouzi, and Willock in a kind of a centre trio where basically they're all interchanging. Because the problem with Guendouzi is he just runs around. He's like he's just a rabbit in headlights. Just runs around. He's a very good player, but he does go out of position. Where I think Willock is one of those players where I can't see him holding a deep line role on his own. So I think those three can work very well together. And I think probably as a Cup and Europe squad, that's a very good way for them to work. With obviously Bellerin's position, with Bellerin's situation, I'd rather have someone who can slot straight in the right back and move up, whether or not it's someone like Max Aarons, or you go for someone like Thomas Meunier with a bit more experience. That's my personal opinion on the right back. Centre mid, I would just get in someone like Thomas Partey.
Yeah.
You've got someone who wants to come to Arsenal. You've got someone who fits exactly what you need at Arsenal. There's no need to chuck any other names in. There's no need to faff about a bit. The biggest problem that Arsenal have got in terms of that kind of midfield position is there's no real out-and-out bullish centre mid or defensive mid. I like Torreira, but
and that's what Thomas Partey would bring to the party.
Yeah, I like Lucas Torreira, but the thing is with Lucas Torreira is he's scrappy, but sometimes gets outballed. He very much kind of reminds me a bit like Francis Coquelin. Francis Coquelin was always happy to get stuck in, but he's not the biggest guy on the planet. Where Xhaka unfortunately turns like a frigate and is a little bit dodgy tackling. I think you need to bring someone in that gives Xhaka time, gives Xhaka reassurance.
For the midfield, I was going to say, you said about, what did you say, Joe Willock? Did you say Joe Willock, Guendouzi and Maitland-Niles?
Yeah.
I think it depends how Arteta totally wants to play, doesn't it? Because if you want 4-2-3-1, I don't think Maitland-Niles or Willock getting a 2, and I don't think they play as a 10. If you play a 3, I think potentially both of them could play, because look at Liverpool, for instance. Say we'd have Partey, could be our Fabinho, and then they play Ronaldo, Henderson, who aren't, in my personal opinion, excellent individual players, but they work hard. They're box to box. They'll do bits of both. So if Arteta wants to play like Jurgen Klopp, you could have, say, Fabinho to Partey, and then you could have Maitland-Niles being our Henderson.
I don't think we'll ever see that type of play from Arteta.
No, me either.
I think what we'll end up seeing is, at some point, we'll end up seeing either a 6 and 2 8s, or we'll see 2 6s and an 8 in the like the Man City style. I think the whole number 10 thing is not going to happen as much next season, depending on how much he decides. Will he ostracize Mesut Ozil, which I doubt because of how well they got on when they both played together. But I also think that it's going to take him time to get, and he will need his players. And I think he really likes Xhaka. And personally, I know he got the captaincy stripped off him, but personally, I would give him the captaincy back. I think he is the only natural-born leader in that team.
I wouldn't give him the captaincy back. I wouldn't give the captaincy to David Luiz either.
No, I wouldn't give it to him, but I think he's a leader. I do think David Luiz has brought a lot to the changing room, I would say. That's why 100%. I would keep him.
The guy's got a stupid amount of experience. And I think where you've got Xhaka and David Luiz with a lot of experience and a lot of passion, I think they've worked really good as vice captains.
Yeah.
To give it to someone like, I don't want to say, once again, Bellerin, because I feel like I'll just be chucking the same name. Or even someone like, give it to someone young like Kieran Tierney, someone who will be at the club for a long time, who's a very solid player, who has a lot of passion, but at the same time can just deal with things and let the other two help him out, especially in the changing room on the pitch. I think moulding a captain through those two players as vice captains, using someone who you expect to be at the club for a long time, would be a better option than going. Because I think if you give it to Xhaka, you're going to get backlash from half the fans. If you give it to David Luiz, he could be gone in a season or two.
Yeah.
So
See,
finally,
our
on this,
last 5 captains, I think. Look at our last 5 captains. Who have we had? We had Xhaka, obviously, got taken off him. It was before Xhaka. Lauren Koscielny went to Bordeaux. Koscielny, fair enough. He'd been at the club for 8 seasons, something like that. So fair play, and I loved Koscielny. And then he did that at Bordeaux, which obviously pissed off half the fans, if not more. Before Koscielny, you had Mertesacker, retired. You had people. Our captains have been shocking. They've either left. Our last decent captain was probably Mikel Arteta. Yeah, it was probably Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, I always felt sorry for Thomas Vermaelen.
I loved him.
He could have been great, but he just got injury prone. And I think
Yeah,
that's
went to
probably
Barca.
why. Yeah, it's someone who you need to look at and go, right, who's not going to be here next season? Who's not going to be here the season after? Who's going to be here in 5 seasons?
That's it.
Who's going to be someone who leads us into the next era, not someone who can help us transition.
Like you said, though, that's why Bellerin's name is a constant, because he's been here since whatever 2014, or if not younger. So he's been here since he was 16. Yeah. So he's been here 10 years, maybe. How old is he? 24, 25, so 9 years, something like that.
10 years.
Yeah, and he's already our PFA player, whether that means anything to anybody, but he's our PFA representative. He's already a vice captain, so if he stays and he signed a 6-year deal, I think he's got 3 years left on that. If he signs another 5-year deal, you'd have to give him the captaincy, really.
Yeah, and I personally would.
So
and
finally,
he's going to play most of the games.
On this topic, I'm gonna ask you both your player of the season and your young player of the season. So I'll come to you first, Keaton.
Well, player of the season, you can't really, unfortunately, go past Aubameyang. I'd like to be controversial and say something stupid, but it would be out of him and Bernd Leno. Absolutely. Them two have been the best players. Bernd Leno did drop, I can't remember who the clanger was against. He dropped that one. He dropped that one into the net, which wasn't great. But without Aubameyang, where would we be, let's be honest? So, hands down Aubameyang, unfortunately. A young player. Once again, that one's probably toss up between 2, and it would be Saka and Martinelli, wouldn't it? And in my opinion, Saka's for the season in a whole, I'd go Martinelli personally. Saka's been good for the last 15 games, and he has been good, real good. But I think Martinelli scored 2 goals on his debut at Nottingham Forest, and then he scored. He's just that goal against Chelsea. I thought I was watching here with my best mate and the missus. And when that goal went in, I was like, that boy, he's got it. So I'd probably give it to Martinelli just over Saka, personally.
What about you, Jack?
Well, same 2 people. It's not really a hard one, is it, to be fair, when picking at least 2 candidates for each section. Young one to start with, I'm going to go with Martinelli, purely for the simple fact of he came from the 4th division of Brazilian football. And to burst onto the scene like that, it's just incredible. I think Saka's played really well, but Saka's grown into the position. Like when Saka first started, you could tell there was uncertainty. Do I take the man on? Do I pass? Do all of that? He's certainly got a lot better. He's certainly done really well in the left-back position when a lot of players would have crumbled. But I think Martinelli's just been an overall better player. As far as our player of the season, I'm actually going to go with Leno. Just the simple fact of
being controversial.
I love being controversial. The simple fact that Aubameyang does what Aubameyang does. Aubameyang is a very good goal scorer. He proves it. He's proved it for the last 2 seasons. But with Leno, I think so much has happened where he has just stopped us being absolutely destroyed by teams. And I think if you look at Aubameyang's always had pretty decent service. We're easily a attack-heavy team. All of our best players are attack-based. Pepe's had a very good season. Mesut Ozil, when he came back, looked very good. Alexandre Lacazette hasn't been the best, but seems to have a very good personal connection with him. Seems to work. If you look at our defence, the amount of times where people just walk through our defence, and you're like, "There's a goal." Oh, wait, no, that's Bernd Leno. they made a
Tottenham.
clanger.
That double save against Tottenham.
Yeah, exactly.
Unbelievable.
I mean, like, he makes a clanger. Every single keeper on the planet makes clangers. It's the worst position to be on the planet because one small bobble can be the difference between you making a clean save and you pushing it straight to a striker. And I think, to be fair, where a lot of people would have struggled, you look at people like Hugo Lloris, where everyone says he's the world's best keeper.
No.
Won the world's best. Well, he's one of the world's
Yeah.
best keepers. Won the World Cup. I think Leno's just been so much better. He's been such a quality player. He saved us so many points. The difference between getting 1 point and 0 points, or us even getting 3 points sometimes, where I think it's expected Aubameyang, and it sounds harsh on Aubameyang, but I expect him to score. When he missed that goal against Olympiacos, I lost my mind, or missed that shot. Whilst I think with Leno, it's more of a thing of he's just called out stops.
I was with Aubameyang's brother that night.
Oh, no. I was watching
yeah.
it here because we watched it on the TV, and because I was with the missus watching it, and she likes football, but she's not like super into it. And when we went down, obviously with Olympiacos, I was like, we've got like however long it was, like 8 minutes. I was like, we've got to score, and she was like, oh, blah 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 blah, and I was like, that chance came up. I was like, yeah, She was like, what's wrong? I was like, I thought it was in. I was like, as soon as I saw it was Aubameyang, I shouted like goal. I knew, and then I was like, oh.
I was sharing. I was in the pub and I was going mental, and then I realised it went past, and I started swearing in French. I think just purely based on the simple fact of it's kind of what he's done when it's not been expected.
What about Leno for captain? Since we didn't speak about him.
I hate keepers as captains. They're too far away.
Not a fan.
Nah. Could you imagine if like something happened, a fracas happened, you have Leno sprinting the entire length of the pitch?
You love to see that, though, don't you? You love to see a keeper get involved in a scrap down the other end of the penalty box.
But no, I think I like Leno, and I really hope Leno stays forever. And I think he's a very good leader. But I think I'm never a fan of keepers as captains. They're too far away from anything.
Yeah, fair.
Vice captain, 100%.
Yeah.
So we'll go on to our final so-called topic of the day. So where do we see Arsenal? Okay, after this coronavirus is all over and hopefully Project Restart happens at some point. So I think even though Project Restart, we won't get into Project Restart today, but I think it could be used as a way for Arteta for 9 games just to see what this squad can do. Because I don't believe
preseason,
a preseason, exactly that.
Yeah.
So where do we see Arteta taking this team? We won't look like long term because I don't think we can at this minute. But we'll say next season. What are our expectations of next season? So come to you first, Keaton.
Personally, it all depends on the investment. Well, that's just football nowadays, isn't it? If you don't get invested in, you don't get anywhere. Personally, so I think we're posting a loss of £19 million this year, which obviously isn't good. We've still got payments to make on several players, not just Pepe, like £20 million a year. We've got Saliba, still got payments to make. That's the way football's done now. It's staggered payments on payment. You don't pay £72 million up front. I think I also read somewhere that the Supporters Trust figured out that if we play next season behind closed doors, we end up with £144 million loss, which when you say it just is like, well, we're not buying anyone, we're selling everyone, because you can't have £144 million loss, even if Stan Kroenke with his 7 billion or however much he's worth now, you just can't sustain £144 million worth of losses. So for me, it all does depend on the finances. If we take finances away from it, I think Arteta could potentially be a very good manager, and he will have to get the best out of what he's got, because I don't see the investment being made. Stan Kroenke's had enough time. We could go into the whole Kroenke in, Kroenke out crap, but personally, he's had, how long has he been here now? Well, he's had full ownership 2-3 years now, and he's not put a penny in, so he's going to have to if he wants to see any improvement in this team after the coronavirus, because there's no way we'll be able to sustain ourselves.
But do you see the fact that, okay, we might say that he doesn't put the money in, but last season we went out and we bought Pepe for 72 million, then Saliba for another 27 million. Then, okay, Daniel Suarez is only on loan, but it was a £6 million loan. Then we can go on as well, David Luiz for 8 million, and then Kieran Tierney, 27 million. So you can't say, if you go by those points, and you can even look at the season before that, the investment has been there. If you say like that investment hasn't been there, that's a big layout to put on one summer. Like,
it is a big layout, but like I said, these are staggered deals. So I think I read during the summer last year that our actual outlay of cash was like something like 30 million last year. And because we paid 20 million for Pepe, I think we're paying 5 million for 5 years for Tierney. I can't remember. David Luiz's was 8 million. So I'm not saying 8 million is nothing, but compared to big football, 8 million is nothing. Can't remember the exact figures, but we didn't net spend that much last season because we got Iwobi. We sold Alex Iwobi for £40 million somehow. Who else did we sell? I can't remember who else we sold, if we sold anyone. Even if we didn't sell anyone else, we got rid of Alex Iwobi for £40 million, so we're laughing to the bank.
But you'd say the same though. The Iwobi transfer will be over a certain period of time. It won't be all up front. But I'm not talking about if we weren't talking about staggered payments. We'll forget staggered payments ever existed. I'm saying as a whole, you could say like as an outlay. Okay, that's 140 million plus pounds in the summer, which for Arsenal in the last few years is unheard of. So if we could get that,
go on, Jack.
I think the problem is, I think if you could probably answer every single argument with Stan Kroenke. No, I think the issue, going back to what you're saying, Paul, about what we paid out, it's not so much of what we paid out, because at the end of the day, Keaton is right with the staggered payments. It's more the profile of the players we bought. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Tierney 100%, but Tierney's a left back from Scotland. I like Saliba, but Saliba was a relatively unknown centre back from Ligue 1. I like David Luiz, but David Luiz was a 32-year-old centre back who didn't make it into the Chelsea squad. I think the problem is when you're looking at it and you go, do you know what, I want to make my stamp on something.
Ambition.
It is ambition. You look at, for example, Liverpool. Liverpool wanted the best keeper in the world. They bought one of the best keepers in the world. And they went, I don't care about the money. You want the best centre-back in the world. They went, here's 80 million, crack on, you buy whoever you want. And I think that's the problem where, actually, do you know what, if you want to get into an arm wrestle with clubs, we can't actually compete. For example, Upamecano, last season, everyone was like, oh, okay, we're going to buy Upamecano. And then they were like, boom, here's 90 million. And they went, nah, absolutely not. And even when they're saying 60 million, they go, nah, absolutely not.
So I heard on the last day of the transfer window last season that apparently we had matched the £60 million, and it was then reported after that it was true that we matched the £60 million that they wanted for Upamecano, but because it was so late in the window.
But the problem is,
said no.
But then surely as a club, exactly, we should be leave it to last minute, and then it doesn't happen.
Thomas Lemar. This is exactly the same thing that's happened for years and years. The big one that I'd like to always go back to is Mesut Ozil. I've got nothing against Mesut Ozil. Mesut Ozil is a very good player. But in the same transfer window, we were looking at buying Gonzalo Higuain and Luis Gustavo. Two players that we desperately needed. We desperately needed a world-class centre forward, and we desperately needed a world-class centre defensive mid. Okay, Luis Gustavo probably wasn't world-class, but it was a thing of, you could have bought them for 40 million. Actually, no, we didn't want to spend the money. We went an entire transfer season not buying anyone, and they went, holy crap, we need to buy someone. Here's 52 million for Mesut Ozil, who we really didn't need at the time, when you think we had people like Aaron Ramsey and Santi Cazorla at the time. Jack Wilshere. And we had
Thomas Rosicky.
And I think the problem with Arsenal is that they tend to go, no, we're not going to match, no, we're not going to match, no, we're not going to match. Suddenly all this heaps of pressure from media and fans come on, and they go, oh, maybe we should match. And I think the thing with the whole Upamecano thing is, if you actually just squared up, if you just fronted up and just went, yeah, here's 60 million when you asked 6 million, we would have Theo Upamecano last season. but they didn't. They waited until the very last moment where they go, actually, we can't afford these players. And I think the problem that Mikel Arteta needs to do, which I don't think Emery did, and 100% I don't believe that Arsene Wenger did, is he needs to go to the owners and say, look, exactly how much money have I got because I want to buy this, 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 and this. No mucking about, no playing about, this is who I want. Can I have them? Yes or no? And if they say no, then okay, you have to go back to the drawing board. But I don't think anyone's ever pressured the owners. At the end of the day, Stan Kroenke is a very, very rich man. He owns 5 professional American teams.
And
He owns the Dallas Cowboys.
His wife is the heir to the Walmart.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, he owns the Dallas Cowboys, one of the most profitable and famous franchises.
Well, it's spending,
No,
is it $5 billion I heard on that
Is it
stadium
Dallas
for the LA
Cowboys?
Rams?
No, it's
Or is it
LA,
LA
LA
Rams?
Rams.
LA
sorry.
Rams. He's spending like
Rams.
£5 billion
But-
on their stadium, isn't he? But he's
I mean,
have you heard the news? He's got to redo a loan. He took out a loan for 400 million, and now he's got to go back because he's running out of money for another 500 million pound loan.
yeah, but like, so many of these people are owning money. Like, I feel like some of the kind of top tycoon loans sometimes don't exist. You look at Barcelona. Barcelona, 800 million pounds. Barcelona are still putting in 50, 60 million pound bids for players. So I think it's just one of those things where he needs to front and just be like, this is what the money we got. At the end of the day, Arsenal make £3.6 million every single home game on ticket sales alone.
So we'll revisit that point but just before the new season kicks off, whenever that new season is. But if I said to you both now, just to finish on, where do you see Arsenal finishing next season? And do you think there is any chance that we could make some sort of challenge, maybe not a title, but be competitive in the league? I'll come to you first, Keaton.
Depends how you define competitive, honestly. For an Arsenal now, competitive back in the day would be first or second. It would be Arsenal, Man U. Competitive nowadays is top 4, unfortunately. And if we continue like this, personally, I don't see us getting in top 4 unless, obviously, Arteta does miracles. We buy decent players, blah, 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 loads of different factors. But at the moment, Man City, miles ahead. Liverpool, miles ahead. I'd even say Leicester, miles ahead. I think we'll be struggling with the likes of Man U, which sounds weird. struggling with the likes of Man U, Wolves, and Chelsea, I think, and obviously, I hate to mention them, probably Tottenham. For the top 4, I think we're nowhere near. I think Leicester will be in the top 4 again next season, no problem. So if you say competitive is top 4, no.
No hope.
Not no hope. There is Mikel Arteta, I think, is our hope because he's an unknown. If we had got somebody, say, an Allegri or a bit more of an experienced manager where we knew what they were doing a bit more, we might be able to give you a better prediction. But since we have such an unknown manager, he could have us as second next year. He could be that good, or he could have us down at 10th. So, but personally, I'd say we're looking between 6th and 4th again next season. And then if it's Arteta builds again, then we start pushing for the top 4.
And what about you, Jack, to finish on?
I think probably 5th would be sensible. I don't agree with Keaton that Leicester are going to be top 4 again. I think Leicester are one of those. I think the problem with Leicester is Leicester's one of those teams that have bouts where they find real top quality players. They create a squad, and then the squad kind of gets semi-decimated, and they restart again. You got to look at Leicester, where basically Wilfred Ndidi is going to be on the top of a lot of people's lists.
I'd have him.
100%. I'd have him if we could buy him for 40 million. I would snap your leg off and have him.
Yeah.
Yuri Telemans is going back to Monaco. He's only on loan. He's not.
No, they bought him now.
Have they bought him? Have they?
Yeah.
Well, that makes it a little bit interesting.
They've still got a very young squad if you look at it. Sionchu's 23. Obviously, Kasper Schmeichel's older, but he's goalkeeper. Pereira, their right back's 28.
I think Ben Chilwell will be gone though.
Ben Chilwell, okay. They get 60 million for Ben Chilwell.
My only thing for next season, of what I think, is that the fact that with coronavirus has happened, I just don't see teams, even if teams can spend big money, I just don't think they'll look at it, because now obviously teams are brands. I feel like morally they won't want to spend that big money, because there'll be people going around, well, you had to cut wages and you had to save on wages all the time, but you're going off and spending 100 million or 60 million, 70, 80 million on a player. I think it will just be looked frowned upon. So I don't see there being huge movement this summer.
I think you have too much faith in people's ethics and morals at the top of football.
Morality will go out the window. No one's going to care. Someone's going to look at it and be like, do you know what? We lost loads of money. What should we do? Let's spend
more money.
Who's going to sell shirts? Who's going to make merchandise? Who's going to do this? At the end of the day, you look at it, you already need to look at gossip, and there's just so much flying about with big players. Barcelona have already got their transfer list sorted and they're sending out to all the people. I think for us personally, I think if we get fourth, it's a miracle. I'll be happy. To be fair, I'd be happy to look at it and go next season and be, we finished fifth, but we finished above Tottenham, we finished above United, if we can do that and we can go, do you know what, we're stepping forward. I don't expect Mikel to walk in and deliver us. I don't expect him to deliver us a cup or to deliver us a league title. If he can hit fifth, then I'm happy-ish. If he can somehow scrape fourth, kudos to him. Give him a 20-year contract.
Bus parade.
Yeah, 100%. Turn Arsene Wenger's, the initials round, switch over the W, put an AM somewhere, But I think personally, to be realistic with what it sounds financially for us, and what the squad is already, I think fifth would be a good step for him. Yeah, at the end of the day, he's coming off the season ninth. Okay, fair enough. We might have Project Restart. We might jump off a few spaces. But realistically, if you leave it here now, you're ninth in the league. So if you can get as close to Champions League football as possible, I'd be pretty happy. But
That's
I can't see us getting.
Good little thing there, if we've got time. Would you rather do what Chelsea did a few years ago when Mourinho got sacked and miss out on European football totally next year to focus on the league?
No.
I don't think so. I just think with how the world is now and the way apparently if next season obviously stay behind closed doors, not getting any sort of European football and losing out on that money will be a huge detriment to the club. And underneath here, I will leave the Swiss Ramble report where he looked at the finances.
Yeah, that's what I looked at.
I just don't see it happening. But anyway, guys, my thanks to Keaton and my thanks to Jack, and we'll see you on the next one.